Viewer discretion is advised. The content you are about to consume may not be suitable for all audiences. I make no real effort to hold myself back. You have been warned. Hello, everyone. I'm here today to fix your bad movie. Today's lucky fix is none other than Captain Marvel. Now, before.
And it came out months ago. Spider-Man's about to come out. Spider-Man.
Well, you see, the reason is because I can. There's no time limits on movies, on how long you can take to criticize something, anything like that. So, with that out of the way, before we start, I'm going to do a little housekeeping as it was. I want to answer some comments and get some of the rules out of the way. So first, some comments I know I'm going to get. First one, you're just mad because it's not what you wanted to watch. Well, in a way, you're right. What I wanted to watch was Three Doors Down and To the Left. It's called something good to watch. Joking aside, though, to some extent, you're right. Captain Marvel was never really a movie I really wanted to watch. And there's a lot of movies I will do that I didn't want to watch. And it's not what I wanted coming out of the movie. But when you get to the rules, you kind of understand how this falls apart. Okay, because I want to keep the core concepts of the movie. So, that out of the way. Next question, you act like you're right all the time. In all honesty, I try not to act like I'm right all the time. I have very little self-confidence in myself. Even now, I'm debating whether or not this is a good take or anything along those lines. But if that's what you get from it, cool. To each their own. If I come across pompous and like I know everything and like I'm the only one who's right, well, to be honest, so be it. I'm not gonna actively change myself for somebody else. At the end of the day, I'm happy with who I am, even if I don't believe in myself. So there's that. Next is a question that a lot of people throw at anybody who criticizes movies or TV shows. Where's your movie? Well, you're right. I don't have a movie, but I also never built a car. And that doesn't mean I can't see a flaw in a car, right? If the light bulb keeps going off because the wiring job was bad, just because I haven't actually done the wiring of a car, doesn't mean I can't criticize it, right? As someone who worked on a lot of cars, not as my profession, but early job while out of high school, I can see a car, I can criticize it, and things along those lines. But just because I never built one doesn't mean I can't. And the same thing goes with movies. Just because I haven't made a movie doesn't mean I can't talk about a movie. Now, you're right. Okay, there's two major points to this criticism that a lot of people tend to overlook when they blow this criticism off. So I am going to go ahead and talk about those points. The two major ones that I believe, coming from a place, if they come from a place of good faith and stuff like this, either when someone says that and all that, they are either talking about not that the fact you can't fully understand the struggles that go behind making a movie and things like that, and I'm trying to think of the best way to word this. Whenever someone makes the argument that, well, where's your movie and stuff like this, they're talking about the point that you don't understand the struggles it takes to make a movie. Okay, you don't understand the time limits, the deadlines, anything to that regard. And I agree with that. I could not understand the deadlines that come across making a movie. I can't understand studio involvement. I can't understand actors whining, things along those lines. But at the end of the day, we tend to forget this, but we're paying them to do a job. A lot of people tend to forget that. Let me give you an example. All right, you go to a fast food place and you order a burger. Okay, the burger takes a long time to get out. It comes out, it's all greasy, the bun's, not toasted, the meat's halfway off the bun, the veggies are all over the place. It's just a sloppy, indescribable mess, right? And you sit there, well, do you just eat it because, well, you already paid for it and say it's good? Or do you ask for another one? Or do you make a complaint? Or do you criticize the burger? And it's, on that end, you don't know what the cooks are going through. You don't know the stress that the manager's putting them under, or maybe it's his last day, maybe there's stuff going on at home. You don't understand this. Which is what I try to give people benefit of doubt, especially if I'm at a restaurant. I've worked fast food. I can understand that stress 100% on my end. But I also fully understand when someone gets mad because they had a bad burger. I get why you would be mad. Because you paid for a product and it came out bad. You have a right to be upset. But when it comes to movies or TV shows, when something comes out and somebody's upset or decides to criticize them, that's when everyone tends to have a problem. And I don't understand. Because paying for a movie or experience like a movie, like a TV show, or anything like that, is still paying for a production. You're still paying for the product. So, arguably, you should be more critical of a movie or TV show than you would be of food, because you don't need those things to survive. Those are purely for your benefit, purely something for you to have enjoyment of, and they have, in a way, taken away that enjoyment. So, while a hamburger or something like that is something you need to survive, movies and entertainment aren't. So it's kind of a disconnect in my mind. I don't fully understand that. Now, also on a less good faith basis, some people like to use the argument as an argument of authority. Well, back to fast food. If you walked in and you've never made fast food, okay, do you have a right to criticize the cook who's been working the field? That's how he wanted to send out the burger. Eat the burger. Just because someone does something doesn't make them an expert in something. A lot of people get hired positions they aren't ready for. One reason or another. It's just how it is. And again, Hollywood, the movie industry, all of this is still a production. It's still a product that we are buying from people, and it's still a job at the end of the day. Just the product they produce is entertainment and an experience. Well, and I'm going to go on a little bit of a tangent, and I promise there's a point to this before I move on to the next subject. I was real little when my grandfather passed away, okay? But before he did, he taught me a lot. A lot of things I keep with me to this day. One being, something I'm going to actually pass on to my kids. He told me straight up one day that I was not allowed to drink coffee until I could drink a cup of coffee black. There was a reason behind that and stuff like that. That this movie and this rewrite don't need those explanations, stuff like that. But it kind of gives you a point. There's a lot he taught me. I guess that's more of an order. But there's another order he gave me. See, my grandfather was a engineer for the Air Force. He went into the Air Force, became a engineer, designed a lot of planes. I've come to find out, there's a lot of planes he helped design or work on. Alright. But after the military and all, after he got out, he got a job with an engineering company and stuff like this. And there's a lot of people that went to that he worked with, that he worked hand in hand with, who went to college, came back with a college degree, and ended up becoming higher in the company than he could because of that college degree. This ain't a college degree argument, but I remember so vividly one night. I woke up in the middle of the night, and I can't remember if it was a bad dream, something like this. But I decided to walk around. I was gonna go grab a movie from the living room and go watch it before I went back to sleep. Well, I see the lights on and my grandfather's worked in. So I go in there, and unlike a normal grandfather who would scold you for being up, mind you, I'm 6 or 7. Like, I'm young. I'm a young kid. I need my sleep. Uh, he asked me while I was awake. I told him I had bad dreams. Well, he told me sit down. If I wanted to, I could sit down, enjoy him for a little bit, and so I did. And he's looking over some blueprints, and he starts cussing up a storm, getting all angry. So I asked what, and he set me down, kind of explained to me what he was talking about and things like this. Now this was during the summer, so I didn't have school the next day or anything like that. Before anyone worries, but he set me down and kind of explained to me what he was talking about, and I didn't understand, not at all. But little kid me kind of said I did. But I remembered some very vivid things. He told me how that someone he had actually trained and stuff like this, just out of college, actually just got a promotion, and this was a blueprint for a new design that they were working on. I can't remember exactly what it was, but it was some kind of engineering thing. And he pointed out and said, "See this right here? This is why I don't like college kids." Because he basically explained to me, while this is more efficient at money making and like that, this is next to impossible to repair. Okay, and he basically explained to me how the whole unit would have to be taken out, fix it, and all that. So the 5 cents he saved the company. Okay, by moving something apart somewhere else, just cost hundreds to customers to replace, and basically made me promise that if I was to ever get into engineering, that he wanted me to have at really minimum 5 years working the field, working on the products before I ever even touched a blueprint on making it. And basically the reason was his belief was that so many people nowadays who makes the products are no longer in touch with the people who have to fix and consume the product. Okay? And that their bottom line was more important than customer complaints or anything like that. And at the time I was a little kid, I really didn't fully understand and all this, but especially after my grandfather's passing and as I got older, I fully realized what he was trying to say. Okay, and you can apply this to cars, technology, anything you can apply this to, it's really true. Those on the top of the food chain who make the product seem full-heartedly disconnected from general populace who consume the product. Okay, and I think the same thing goes with movies. Okay, so and I hope y'all can kind of see where I'm going with this. Those who make the movies aren't necessarily the same people who will watch the movies, and what they'll get out of the experience may be two completely different things. Now, the movie industry is still booming and stuff like this. I'm not saying that everyone's like me and will see it with a critical eye or anything like this, but I do think it does show some and things like that. So, I kind of consider this my working years. This is me working the field. This is me sitting back, criticizing movies, rewriting movies, okay, and enjoying movies or TV show before I get to a point where I actually sit down and make my own. I want to. There's actually a anime series that I've been working on for the last couple of years, and a book/movie series. Probably actually going to end up becoming a video game, but that's beside the point. There's two major series that I actually really do want to make one day. 3 if you include the offshoot one that I was kind of thinking about too. But anyway, getting way ahead of myself. But first I gotta prove to myself I can do this, and this is kind of like me working the field. Now, with all that being said, I want to get some of the rules out of the way, and what I mean by rules is how I'm going to structure these videos. Now, I may put these rules up in this kind of first section on every video. I haven't quite decided yet on that end. But that being said, let me lay out for y'all the rules of the Rewrite series. Rule 1, I must use the movie as a rough draft. No major changing. And what I mean by this is any change that would fundamentally change the movie, I cannot make. Okay? The movie has to be at least semi-recognizable as the original. Okay? And now I'm not, going and adding everything. More on that in a second. Rule 2, I must keep the core story beats and themes if I think that is one. Now, while the current movie I'm working on, Captain Marvel, is a good example of a movie that does have a theme, or I think there's a theme of it and stuff like this. There'll be some movies or TV shows that I watch, I won't see a theme, or I won't see, core story beats. I'll see, Family Guy's a good example. There's no core story beats of Family Guy. It's a very episode to episode show and stuff like this. So there's really, there's a theme and there's a general story beat, but there's no overarching story or anything like that. So that's more or less what I'm talking about. So I may make some character changes to the people and stuff like that, but the actual overall story must stay the same. Okay. Rule 3. While I might comment on the acting from time to time, or the filmmaking, or the music, I will only do so if I feel it would be something worth writing in a script to add to the story. Mostly as if I was writing my own script and don't have, and I'm basically acting on this story-wise as if I'm a editor and not a direct producer or director, anything like this. The script writer comes to me and is like, hey, look over my script, tell me what you think. Boom, these are my changes I would make, these are the flaws I see in it. Boom, here you go back, kind of thing. And I won't go over every aspect of a movie either. Rule 4, if I feel there's a message to the movie is trying to push, I will do my best to push it as well. I'm treating it as if I'm the editor, not writer or producer. Again, I go back to that because there will be times where in a movie we'll be pushing a narrative I don't necessarily agree with. Now, Captain Marvel, I do clearly see they're pushing a narrative. While I do think it's a good narrative, I think they do it very poorly and stuff like this, and it could have been done better. But more on that in my closing statements of everything. Rule 5. This all I can do. All I can do is believe I'll make a difference. But I will try. I don't believe I'll make a difference. I really don't. And all that. I don't believe I'll make a difference by any means or anything, but I will. And this is Rule 5 of the series. I will do everything in my power to inspire somebody new, inspire the next generation, and hopefully one day people will start seeing movies differently and make better movies. And then Rule 6, I may in the future, but at least for this movie and probably the next few movies and stuff like this, I won't be going over every little change I'll make to the movie. There's a lot of little script elements, a little bits of the movie that I'm going to gloss over and all that, and only go after the core changes I would make if I can make them. As you get further and further into the movie, keeping consistent with what is currently happening and what I want to change becomes harder and harder. Well, at the beginning it's easier to make sure the same core story beats happen. Well, the finale is pretty much consistent on what has happened. Changing it can be difficult at times. I don't believe by any means I'll ever make a perfect movie, or even turn a semi-decent movie into a perfect movie. There will always be flaws I can't catch, always be flaws in the movie itself. But, that being said, I do believe I can make it at least a little bit better, and I hope that at least one person out there will find my changes and be like, yeah, I would love to have seen that movie instead. But all that being said, let's get on to the review. So the movie starts with Carol Danvers, or Captain Marvel, as I'll be calling her, because Captain Marvel is easier for me to say personally. Captain Marvel wakes up in the Creed homeworld, and this comes to the first thing I would actually change: the opening of the movie. Now, technically, the opening of the movie is Stan Lee cameos, which I love, but the first thing I would really change is, as the actual movie, is this scene, and basically, it's because this doesn't show anything about the character, and just like a lot of like actors or people or directors will have a certain style about them, so do a lot of writers. And one of my styles is I like to open on more of what's known as a cold open, where you see some, not necessarily some action, but you see something kind of breathtaking or something along those lines, and that's how you start the movie. So, with that being said, I would actually have the movie open with a black and white, or muted colors, doesn't necessarily have to be black and white, but very muted, almost gray style scene of a young Carol Danvers, or Captain Marvel's, young Captain Marvel, having a fight with her dad. Now, I want to make it very clear that you will not hear any of this fight. Okay, not at first anyway. You'll hear some music, some very soft music and stuff like that, but for the most part, you will just see them not getting along. Okay, and it's very important that you would also see her start to get really, really angry and agitated. Now, this could be a teenager or a kid, kind of depends on how you want to play it and all this. But doing this, the only words you'll hear is a very strong and directive tone from her father telling her, "Go girls, don't get angry," and then a smack across the face. Now, you don't necessarily have to see the smack, but you should hear it and stuff like this. And right after that, she should basically jump up, okay, in kind of a cold sweat, kind of breathing heavily, and then say something along the lines, "If I hate these damn dreams." Okay, the reason I would do it this way is it kind of sets up the character really quickly. It lets you know that she gets angry and stuff like this. She has an issue with her father, but more importantly, okay, it kind of sets up the idea very early on and makes the audience question, well, why did she say it was a dream? That was clearly a flashback, right? And it kind of gives the idea of the audience of what's going on without telling them everything they know. Show, don't tell kind of style. With that being said, a lot of this will be built on as the movie goes on, but it gives something very early on for the audience to chew their teeth on. Okay? And it even gives them something to look forward to and something to build upon later when she flips, because, well, this along with what the next scene is going to apply. Alright, so the very next scene in the real movie is her going to go see her mentor, who to spar with him. She starts to lose, is told to control her emotions and not use her powers, but she doesn't listen, uses her powers and her emotions to win. This is the first sign of what I believe a theme might be in this movie, that your emotions are part of you and you need to accept them. My version, while keeping the same theme, though I don't necessarily agree with that theme, would play out a bit different. I say a bit, probably play out a lot different choreography-wise, but writing-wise, I would have it change. First off, I would have her going to go talk to him about her dream, okay, and just finds him training, okay, and when she asks him, "Hey, can I talk to you?" he actually initiates the fight and tells her, "Only if you're willing to spar with me," okay. He can either do this by just attacking her, right, and then telling her to talk, or to have him actually straight up just say, "I'm busy right now training, you must train with me if you want to," or something along those lines that gets them to start sparring together. This would kind of build up a relationship between them and kind of let you know that, hey, this is someone who, for the last 6 years, as you find out later, has been training her, and been treating her well. Okay, kind of a mentor. Well, with all that being said, I would have them start the fight. As the fight goes on, especially at the beginning, I would have it where he is throwing punches, she's blocking. She throws punches, he blocks. A very much stalemate situation that could just be seen as like normal sparring, but it could also be seen as the matched. Well, once she starts telling him about her dream, she's very vague about it and stuff like this, but mainly about the way it made her feel, how angry it made her and stuff like this. She starts to get emotional. Okay, to drive home the point of being emotional, you have to have your characters be emotional. So this is a good chance to show that she is emotional. She gets angry, she gets upset, stuff like this. So have her kind of visibly shooken up by the experience. And she starts to lose the battle. Okay, she's not using her powers at all or anything like this. She doesn't really know how to control them, so she doesn't really use them or anything like that. Well, after telling the dream, I would have him say something demeaning. Okay, oh honey, or something along the oh sweetie, cupcakes, something kind of demeaning that he knows for a fact gets under her skin. And you could either have her say something like, you know, that gets underneath my skin. Okay, it gets to me and makes her angry. At this point, the battle shifts and she starts clearly losing, or more on the losing end. He's throwing more punches and she's having to dodge blocks. No real punches have been landed yet. Okay, but also I would also have him set up. You know, it's like, I know it's hard for you since you don't remember anything, but I would either have it where she knows she's an alien and she's not a Creed, right? And if that's the case, say something along the lines, I've been watching you for a really long time, or something along those. Basically, reassuring her that those dreams weren't real. Okay, or in my actual version, I would have them make her believe that she is a Creed. Okay, and say something along the lines of, I've been watching over you since the day you were born. Okay, nothing like that has ever happened. I know all this. I know it's hard for you ever since your first mission where you lost your memory, but it's gonna be okay. And again, probably having him in with something demeaning. At this point, I want her to get pissed off. She gets visibly angry, and she goes into basically a berserker style fighting style, where she's throwing punches, are wild, they're unpredictable, and all this. At first, he's dodging, he gets hit by a few trays and stuff like this, but he keeps his cool, and then learns his pattern. And very quickly, instead of blocking, starts dodging, because blocking, starting to hurt him, and laying counter blows, which they weren't able to do before. Every time a counter blow was thrown, someone was able to block. Showing that her anger was a powerful tool, and she's even starting to glow and start using her powers and stuff like this. Because she's so angry, she can't punch. Okay? And then I would have her put her in a hold like she does normally. Okay? I would probably do a chokehold or a head hold of some arm lock or something like that instead of the arm lock they use, but that's just me because that's a bad arm lock to begin with. Hold or something like that. And in the normal movie, she ends up winning and not listening to him. I would not have this. I would actually have her lose and accept her defeat at that moment, because if for a thing to work, you have to overcome the thing. Okay? You have to overcome, well, not necessarily always, but for this kind of thing to work, you have to overcome it and have to realize that they've been lying to you. People told you this over and over. You have to prove them wrong. If you prove them wrong right out the gate, right at the beginning of the movie, it undercuts the moment later in the movie when they fight and she just uses her powers and wins, and it doesn't matter that she's emotional. because she learned to use her emotions instead of trying to control her emotions. Okay, it's a very, very cinematic, good thing. She'll have it where she loses now so she can win later and prove that he was wrong all along and she just didn't know how to use her emotions yet. That's just me and all that. That's how I would do the scene. To each their own on that one though. On to the next major thing I would change is why she goes to see the Supreme Intelligence. See, in the original movie, she gets sent to the Supreme Intelligence because she lost control, attacked him, and lost, and sent as a punishment. I wouldn't have it play out this way. One, because she didn't just lose and all that, but I would have the mentor tell her maybe you should go see the Supreme Intelligence, okay, and maybe she has some answers about dreams and stuff like that, and go along with that. Okay, but as soon as she turns away to go leave, I would have him get onto his little radio communication and say something along the lines of she's starting to remember. But that's just me on that end. That would kind of set up the idea that the Creed aren't as good as they look to be and stuff like this, and kind of makes people wonder what's going on here. Now, there's a lot of little things with this, but when she gets to the Supreme Intelligence, stuff like that, in the real movie, they start to give some exposition and stuff like that, and things along that. Tells her that the mentor said that she can go on her mission. I'm not sure how I feel about all this and all that. I would personally have it changed where the Supreme Intelligence tells her, Captain Marvel goes to ask about the memory stuff, and the Supreme Intelligence says, because of your first mission, and she starts asking questions about her first mission, and the Supreme Intelligence keeps dodging the question or telling it it's classified and things along those lines, making her madder and madder and madder, okay, until the Supreme Intelligence drops the line, you are too emotional, okay? At which point the mentor would walk in and tell the Supreme Intelligence, you might be right on that, but I'll request you to send her on mission codename, whatever the mission name may be. I can't remember if they gave one in the movie, but this way it kind of feels more like an operation, stuff like this. And also kind of a change I would do, I want a Creed code, I want the Creed to almost feel like a cult in a way, and do that through a moniker or a phrase that they repeat as nauseum, okay, to keep them fighting no matter what. And whatever this Creed code may be, have them tell her the Creed code before telling her, fine, I will send you on the mission, okay, be ready in X hours, okay, and then the briefs, either debriefs her then on the mission, or waits until the next scene when the team is together to debrief her, or and tell her the briefing will be in X hours, go get ready. Well, in the real movie, the next scene cuts to a slow-mo walk of all the Creed characters and, Captain Marvel and everything. And I would still have them talk about the scrolls and stuff like that beforehand, so you kind of know what's going on there. But now, here's where my version would differ. During the little banter section and there's little hints of a character and stuff like that, I would have Kel stay quiet. So Captain Marvel stay quiet and stuff like this. And then I would have her kind of sit to the side. She's watching, she's excited, but she doesn't remember her first mission, first time she's been out of the place in 6 years, and stuff like this, and even drop up that fact. And have the captain, the leader, the one who gives the debriefing, before giving the debriefing, go to her and be like, look, I know you're worried, alright, I know your last mission, you don't remember anything. about it and stuff like that. But trust me, it won't end up anything like this. Listen to me, trust me. I will protect you on this mission and kind of make it feel more like a team, okay? Before he gives the debriefing and stuff like this. Maybe they even kind of banter back and forth of why they become. And then they all recite the Creed code, okay, before going into your debriefing, okay, including her. That's kind of what I would have it. Alright. And yeah, no, that's kind of how I have it. They drop onto the planet, the battle goes as it does in the actual movie, and I would kind of let the movie be for now up until the flashback scene. Everyone kind of knows what scene I'm talking about. And first things first, that flashback scene is way too short. I'm gonna talk about it as if I have to keep it just as short and stuff like that. But let's go over what happens in the movie. Also, before I go over what happened in the movie, I would also kind of change the order about it, and I'll explain why in a second. But first, in the real movie, flashbacks are her and her friend going on a plane, saying, let's show these boys how we do it. Then it jumps to when she's younger, and a mean boy tells her go slower on turns. She says nah, speeds up and crashes. Her dad not caring. She okay, just tells her that she shouldn't be out there. And this is no place for a girl. Then we jump to when she's older and she's training to be an Air Force soldier. The guys bully her and all that. And then another jump to her singing and dancing on stage with friends. And then jumps to where she's younger and she's told about space. That's basically the flashbacks in a nutshell. I would change first off the order. Okay? Time-wise too, if I could, just because it feels a little rushed, but just in case I can't and all that, and assuming the emotional writing of the story is better, won't necessarily have to be done, but it kind of helps flesh out the character, because as of right now, you're not really seeing a whole lot of emotion, you're not seeing anything from this character. Right? It feels more like a plank of wood to me. But first, the first one I would show is her as a very little kid being told about space. Okay, and then I would jump a bit to the driving section. Okay, and those two would kind of go basically the same way and all that. Then I would change right after that, the dad telling her and stuff like that. I would have her start to get up angry and try to walk past her, only for her dad to push her back down and have her finish telling her this is no place for a girl and things like this, reinforcing the idea of why she hates her dad so much and the fact she does get angry quickly. Alright. Then I would change. I would have the flashback of her and her friend and her friend's kid. Okay, be the next ones. Doesn't really matter which ones those go in. But you know that timeline, okay. Then I would have the Air Force training one, okay. But I would actually change this slightly to have it where it's the boys making fun of her while she's on the rope and stuff like this. To a scene basically shortly after that, where it looks like she's about to go fight one of them and punch one of them. Okay, only for her friend to step in front of her and stop her so she doesn't get stabbed. Okay, that would allow the friend to develop a little bit, feel more like them. Then it's the flying with her friend. Then it would be her flying with her friend saying, "I could not have done this if you didn't give me the strength to keep fighting." And that's basically the history-based flashbacks. There's a couple, at least one more. But that's basically them in a nutshell. There's a plot relevant one in a second. But I would change those in the order so it looks, for one reason, the order, it being so out of order, it makes the machine look incompetent and you're just jumping around looking for a memory. This makes it look more intentional. Oh, you're too far back, move it up, X amount, keep moving it up, keep moving it up. As for the actual scene where they see Cord, C. Marvel, which is the Creed woman's name they're looking for, and stuff like this. I probably wouldn't change a whole lot about that. There are a lot of problems with that, namely why they're looking for her. I don't like the idea of they're looking for her because of the space technology and stuff like this. They're trying to give it to her. And if you think about it for too long, it really doesn't make any sense. Just fly in a straight line till you find a planet. I would prefer that either she has she's using the light speed technology, because now with her being a Creed, this part may be a little hard to do, but I would probably either have it where she is looking for the technology, okay, to reform a planet so the Skrulls can live on. She has cords to a planet that can be used as a refugee planet outside of the Creed's control, or something along those lines, and not lightspeed technology, but for the purposes of this, we can use the lightspeed technology. Well, it doesn't make a whole lot of sense. People can kind of overlook that. Well, I don't like saying that, but that is something that can be kind of overlooked if the rest of the movie was better. Now we get to the really, really fun part. The scene that everyone and their mother knows about, even if they didn't watch the movie. The whole reason I wanted to make this in the first place. The one, the only, the Dawn. Alright. Now, in the actual movie, what was shown is she's there with a map. It's crashed. She's on the planet now. We're skipping ahead and all that. Again, I'm going on after core setups and stuff like that. Well, she's there with a map and she's trying to figure out where to go. A guy in a motorcycle pulls up, walks into the store. She then proceeds to steal the motorcycle and I take it back. Before he walks into the store, he does ask her, "Do you need a ride?" And I can't remember if he says, "How about you smile for me" in the deleted scene, or in just the deleted scene, or if he says that in the original cut as well, or the final cut, I should say. But either way, that's all he really does. Now, I'm going to talk about as in the deleted scene because I understand why they deleted it, but they wouldn't have to. They would have made my changes. So before we go on to that, I need to talk about archetypes, okay, or basically stereotypes of characters. I have a point to this, so please stick with me while I kind of make this ramble. Archetypes are basically character cutouts that you can stick onto somebody. If you're making it for like a main character or like a reincarnated side character, then these archetypes need to be changed slightly. They feel unique and personal, but it's a good starting point. While if you're making it for throwaway characters, it's really good. The amount of archetypes that are kind of endless. And for the most part, you can throw them onto a throwaway character and we'll understand what you're going for, and bada bing, bada boom, you're done. For the few in the audience who's listening to this and don't know what I mean by archetype, let me give you this example. Alright? I want you to picture in your head a teacher walking into a room with a jock who has a nerd in a headlock. Okay? And then the cheerleading captain taking pictures. Or popular girl. We'll go with popular girl taking pictures. Okay? Immediately in your head, okay, when I told you jock, you were more than likely thinking of some buff dude, probably named Brad or Kevin, okay, with a varsity jacket of captain of the football team, more than likely. Nerd, you were thinking of someone with thick rimmed glasses, no style, probably freckles or pimples, relatively large nose, and things along those lines. Popular girl, I said cheerleader ahead of cheerleader, popular girl, because a lot of times those go hand in hand, and that's probably what you were thinking too, even if I didn't say it. You were probably thinking the captain of the cheer team, like that, probably dating the jock, and stuff like this, and relatively a mean girl. Alright? Now, you don't have to be these characters. You can change them however you want. Okay? There could be a logical reason. Hell, the jock and the nerd could be best friends. But just by telling you that much, you got the archetype immediately. But the same works in reverse. If I was to show you a picture of a person, okay, archetypal thing as well. Okay, you can almost immediately understand what they may or may not do because we are programmed to do that as a society. We put people in categories or archetypes. Now, some archetypes are a little bit more complicated than others. One being suave. Okay, now when I say suave, not everyone knows what I mean by that. Let me tell you what a suave guy is, and I think that's what they're trying to go for. Suave guy is the cool guy who picks up girls, okay, who seems nice at first and stuff like this, but picks them up only to, one night stand, then dump them, and has absolutely no remorse or redeeming qualities about them. I did it if you guys like that. I'm not gonna lie. That being said, that's the archetype they tried to use with suave. Problem with suave, it's just a two-stage archetype. Okay, they are the cool joke. Okay, so unless you can establish both of them right away, we're only going to see one of them. You can either see just the joke or just the cool. And unfortunately, that's why there was such a divide in people. Okay, people only saw one of the two. Okay, and some people saw him as a jerk. Okay, and hated him and agreed with Kel when he shocks him and steals him. It's like going to the lead scene. While other people don't agree with her. Okay, and only see the cool side. Alright, now while I'm not gonna agree or disagree on either one of those, this could have been done better. There's two archetypes that could have been done perfectly for the scene. The scene could have played out very similar, and it would have gone over a lot better, and more people would have been okay with her attacking and stealing stuff. Now, some people are going to hate me for saying she attacks him. She shocks him. Whether or not you agree or justify does not matter. She still shocks him as attack. Not how you. So, that being said, let's talk about those situations and the archetypes I would have used. The first one is probably what actually would have been my deleted scene, and probably not the archetype I would have used. Instead of the guy pulling up in a motorcycle, I would have had him pull up in a minivan. And the reason is, I would have the archetype be basement dweller. Okay? Whether they're skinny and just unsightly, or on the larger side and kind of unsightly, doesn't really matter. Both kind of work for this kind of scenario. I'll have them pull up. I'll have them look at him, kind of smirk a little bit while Kel reads a map. And then I'll have the camera zoom in on Carol Danvers, Captain Marvel, and he appear right behind her in her personal space, smelling her hair. Okay, and then asked if she needs a ride. Okay, and then even say something about she needs to smile for and stuff like that. And just overall be a extreme creep to her. Okay, to the point where he grabs her hand without permission and tries to kiss it. This is the final straw for Carol. She squeezes his hand tightly. If you've never actually been in the hold, you can grab somebody's fingernails and squeeze upwards, and it hurts like a bee. This, along with her shocking, will be enough to send him to his ground. Maybe have him make some weird noises. You're kind of scooting the line on that one if he does. But that's, a movie decision on that end. But basically does this and tells him to give up his keys and stuff like that. He should respond with something like, "My mom would kill me if I do," and stuff like this. And she squeezes harder, shocks him again, and he gives it up. And the scene plays out normal after that. Runs away into the thing. She gets in a vehicle and runs away, or drives away. That would probably be my deleted scene. One that would probably fit a bit more is the biker stereotype. And when I say biker, I mean the gray hair, black leather jacket, windbreaker, biker. Okay, have comes up, say something demeaning like "sweetie" or "honey," right off the bat. Ask her for a ride. Tell her, "No, I got a two-person party at my house. If you're willing to join me," and something along those lines. A little bit of a tangent, but actual fun, true story. When I was a teenager, I had actually just recently turned 18. I was working at fast food, and I went across the street to go get a Monster on my break. And for me and my mother, who was also the manager at the place, and when I walked over there, a biker couple pulls up, and the woman kind of gives me the suggestive eyes, and then he goes, we got a three-person party at our house if you want to join. It's a lot of fun than whatever you're doing. And kind of heavily, like there was more to the conversation, kind of heavily suggesting that like fun time was about to be had, like sex and drugs and probably shit like that. If I went with him, I almost did. I really, really did. Probably I'm very, very curious on what would have happened if I did go, but I ended up not. I ended up going back and stuff like that. I was barely a teenager and didn't feel like going through that. So I didn't. But that's an actual story. But basically, have him say something very demeaning. Tell her she would be sexier if she smiled more, something along those lines. Where you still have your smile line, but it's a lot more like creepyish and stuff like this. And then she can offer the handshake like she does in the deleted scene, but this time, when she does, he pulls on her hand and tries to pull her into a hug, to where she pulls back and shocks him, knocking him to his knees, and basically have him begging not to die, and then same thing plays out. Keys, boom, goes. I would have liked the biker one more, personally, but I think the creep plays to the narrative better. Just because we all know someone like that creep, but not everyone knows a biker like that. Some people actually look at bikers pretty like positively, while most people will look at it just straight up creep as negatively. But all that being said, that was the scene I really wanted to talk about. There are some more things I would like to talk about here in a second. But I feel like if that would have happened, a lot more people would have been okay with her stealing from him and stuff like this. I don't think the internet would have exploded nearly as bad about it and would have called her a villain nearly as much if it's something like that. Now, there's no more major changes I would rewrite. Okay, not because there's not huge problems, other huge problems that need to be fixed. It's keeping with my rules. There's not a whole lot more I could do. Okay, not without changing major parts of the movie or talking about things that aren't related to the script. Like, I can put into the script be matter, like I did a couple of times, but unless you have an actor who's willing to act that way, then it doesn't really do anything for that. Same thing goes with small stuff too. Okay, why the Skrull wanted revenge, right? There's a whole like plot hole almost where the Skrull is actively trying to kill her until they find her and then tells her, "Hey, no, we're not trying to kill you, even though we just told our men to kill you. We want to find you alive or dead." Like, there's a lot of little things like that. It feels more like a death by 1,000 little cuts than anything else. And there's a whole lot of little changes you can make, okay, that would change this movie entirely. But it's not one that would look anything similar. Well, I should say it wouldn't look anything similar. It wouldn't look close enough for me to say, hey, this is a movie. if I was truly editor and stuff like this, like I said, there would be a bunch of little like notes I would have and stuff like this, and my script would be a couple hours long, not as long as it actually is. But like I said, there's a whole lot of little things I would change, and I don't. None of that I don't feel like going into detail. I can't go into detail about all of them. I'm still working on doing this stuff. This is my first video like this, but I gotta kind of find out how I want to do this and how much I'm willing to spend to do this. So with all that being said, okay, even with the little bitty changes I made and stuff like that, like I said, it's not super major changes, just a slightly different direction. And my script actually was a lot longer than me actually speaking this out, because there's a lot of this I had to cut. I hope at least one person hears my suggestions for some of the major changes and be like, ah, yes, I would love that. That would be cool. Or, something along those lines. I understand if it's not your style and things like that. Like I said, this movie's not perfect, and I highly doubt I can make it perfect, even if I spent all the time to do the little changes. Hell, there's a whole plot point, okay, about her becoming God. Like she basically becomes a god at the end of the movie, and there's no way I can change that to make that work. There's no way to have a perfect character, okay, seem flawed if the movie never has a opportunity for it to be flawed. The only flaw I could make her is maybe get mad or get mad. She gets angry easily, and that be her flaw. But the actor acted like a plank of wood, and that could be because of the script, that could be because of her. I don't know. I wasn't on set. So, like I said, I'm going after more of the concepts and stuff like this. This is kind of just a setup for me to start working on some projects I actually really want to work on. I picked this movie first, mainly because I wanted to talk about the Dawn scene. I'd heard about it before. I knew a lot about it. I wanted to rewrite that particular scene. Unfortunately, this is one of those movies where I can't rewrite the whole movie. My next project will actually probably be a TV show, maybe a movie. There's some movies floating around that I kind of want to do, but there's actually a TV show I really want to do next. Actually, the one that made me originally want to do this series, I just did this first because this is easier for me sometimes. So, that being said, I don't know if you'll like my changes. I don't know if y'all hate my changes. A lot of it comes down to dialogue, which I'm not good with. I'm better with general concept and suiting ideas, not details. That's why I use the movie as a base. This is a flawed movie. Even with my changes, it's still a flawed movie. But tell me down below if the changes I made when in the movie you would have liked if you saw it on the big screen, more or less. I do wonder. Y'all have a wonderful day and good night, and I'll see you guys next time. Goodbye.